Good evening, good evening, good evening, and hello from John and
Michelle.
we're so glad to be back. We've been away from
weeks.
Satsang for 3 weeks. We're still on the road traveling, but we've missed you guys. And thank you for all your messages asking where we were and when we were coming back. Well, here we are, we're back again. So it's Satsang with John and Michelle, and tonight we're going to be looking at the intelligence of life, the intelligence of life. We're going to start with centering meditation, and then Michelle's going to share some astrology because we've got quite an important full moon coming up this coming week on Tuesday. It's a super moon.
It's a super moon and it's a lunar eclipse.
Lunar eclipse, yeah. So that's quite a few energies coming through at the moment, and maybe some of you are feeling the emotion rising at the emotional energy is rising. Maybe you're picking that up. And so Michelle's going to share her insights there for those of you who haven't seen her online clip that you put up a vlog the other day. Yeah, it's really good. And then we're going to share some insights regarding the intelligence of life, and then we'll close with a guided visualization from Michelle. So welcome. We like to know who we're talking to, so if you can just share, where you're watching from, that's really good. And if you're enjoying it, you can always send us likes, and you can share this. Facebook really restricts the flow of information to a greater degree, and if you press the like and share button, it definitely does help get the information out and invite other people to share this with us. So if you can press the like and share button, it really does help. Great. So thank you, and we love getting your hearts as well. So thank you for that.
Thanks for the hearts, everyone.
So let's do the really important work that isn't work at all. It's play of the evening, and that is withdrawing our mind from our story, from all the happenstances of our life and the circumstances and the challenges and the problems, which I'm sure you haven't had any today because being Sunday, it's obviously been a nice, chilled, relaxed day. Unless you spent it with family, that is, in which case you probably had a few problems.
Push some little buttons.
So let's just withdraw our mind from all of the times and all of the places and just center ourselves into our body. Our body is such a wonderful portal into what I call the vertical plane. The body is a portal into presence, into the connection with the here and now. So maybe we like to gently close our eyes and take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And as we breathe out, we just sink deeper and further into our bodies. Let's try that again. Take a deep breath in, filling your whole body up. And then that beautiful, long, very long, relaxing breath out and sink down deeper into your body. Feel your feet connecting with the floor and feel your bum on the chair. Take another deep breath in, filling your body right the way up to the crown of your head, and a very long breath out and just dropping back and down into the present moment. Allow life to breathe you now gently in and out, but pay attention to the slight pause between the in-breath and the out-breath, and the out-breath and the in-breath. That centers you quite quickly when you pay attention to that stillness. Stillness is the key to inner space. It's the key to alignment with life. It's the key to alignment with our divine self. They say God speaks to us in stillness. All else is a bad translation. So just paying attention to that slight gap between the in-breath and the out-breath, and the out-breath and the in-breath, is enough to align us back into that inner space, that beautiful, beautiful place of peace. And as we sit here together, be mindful of the connection that we have as a community, and know that we are all connected, even though physically we might not be together. Energetically, there is a connection in a field of information, a field of love. So just setting the intention to gather here on a Sunday evening, there is a connection between each one of us. And the connection is not so much through the head, but more through the heart. So let's just drop our awareness into our hearts. With our eyes closed, we bring our awareness, our full attention to our hearts, and we feel in this moment our hearts are opening. We feel this expansiveness as we open our hearts. And as we feel our hearts opening, so we feel a greater connection to this group, to this community, to everyone on this call. This connection is heart to heart. The heart puts out a magnetic field something like 30,000 times stronger or something than the head. And it's through the field of love that we connect, through the field of the heart that we connect. So let's just focus on opening right now. Opening to life. Opening to just this moment. Opening to presence. Feel this connection radiating out beyond this group, radiating out to all those in our community, to those loved ones, anyone you know who might be in need of healing, be it physical, mental or spiritual. Just draw them into this group in your awareness. Embrace them in the field of love, which is a feeling of oneness, connection. Bring them in, and we know that the moment you bring them into love, there is a shift in their energy and there is a healing that takes place. And let's radiate this field of connection, of community out to the greater community, to those people that we maybe are aware of but don't know them personally. Let's also bring them into the field of love. Incorporating not only humans but our animals. Let's bring into our awareness the life in the trees and the flowers, the grasses, the insects, the birds, the fish that live in the waters. Let's spread this bubble of community, of love, of connection out to encompass all those who live on planet Earth with us at this time. Let's feel the sense of oneness with all of humanity and all those other life forms who inhabit the earth. You might like to picture a color green. Green is the frequency of chlorophyll, it's the frequency of the transformation of the sun's energy into an energy that we can live off on earth. It's a color of life, it's the color of love. It's the color which we most associate with the heart chakra. So see yourself connected in this beautiful, beautiful pastel green color connecting us all. And now let's surround this earth in a beautiful bubble of blue light. The light of protection. In this moment, just know that you are so loved, you are so guided, you are so protected, as is the whole planet Earth. We are an important part of the evolution of the cosmos. Planet Earth is a jewel, beautiful, beautiful jewel. And we are precious and we are loved. As we open our heart, we connect with this love, we connect with this guidance, and we know we are protected at all times. We give thanks to those beings who are not in the physical form at this time, maybe people who have passed over, who are now guiding us. We maybe connect to those realms of light that have never been incarnate, that cannot be incarnate. We may know them as, maybe we know them as angels, these beings who are here to protect and to guide, cannot interfere with us, but the moment we ask, their help is given. We give thanks to all those beings who walk with us every day in our lives, bring about synchronistic meetings, and guide us to fulfill our life purpose. We give thanks for the opportunity of being on earth at this very auspicious time, this time of massive transformation and evolution of consciousness. It is a real privilege to be on earth at this time. Yes, it may appear challenging, but it is a privilege. So in your hearts now, radiate a field and energy of gratitude for being here right now, and for being aware of what really matters in life, which is community, which is connection, which is caring, which is love. Now take a deep breath into your body, drawing the air right the way down to your toes. And a beautiful, long, releasing, relaxing, centering breath out. Take another very deep breath in, drawing the air right down to those toes again and right up to the top of your head. And just release all that no longer serves you. Just let it go. This process is a surrendering, a releasing, a letting go. Take another deep breath in, drawing that beautiful, wonderful new breath up into your body, filling every single part of your body with this beautiful pranic air, and then release it all, relaxing your shoulders, your neck muscles, sinking deeper into your body, into the present moment, into alignment with life as it is right now, in the here and now. And gently, when you're ready, you may open your eyes. And as you open your eyes, just feel how you feel in this moment. Do you feel more centered, more present? Well, it only took a few minutes. And the only thing that ever blocks us from that feeling of connection is just the thinking mind. And all we did then was still the mind, quieten the mind. And we came back to our natural state, which is connection, which is love. So thank you for being with us tonight.
Welcome. Thank you, John. That was lovely. Very calming. So we're coming to you from one of our favourite places, which is Hogsback in the Eastern Cape. And we've got a little log fire in front of us.
I'm just going to put another log on it.
It's really cold outside, so it's beautiful inside and warm and cozy. So we're delighted to be back with you. And we're going to talk about the intelligence of life. We headed just astrologically or energetically, we're headed towards a big, huge, big fat full moon, and it's actually the first eclipse of the year, so it's called a lunar eclipse. This is a total lunar eclipse, which means that it's more powerful than normal, coupled to the fact that it's actually a supermoon as well. So if you've looked outside and seen the moon, we saw it later this afternoon, and it's huge. So the bigger it is, the closer it is, the stronger it is. And this full moon is basically a moon that is in Sagittarius. So it's opposite the sign of Gemini. And that's actually the axis that we often see as intelligence. So we're going to talk about intelligence. Many of us see intelligence as cleverness, brightness. You know, somebody's smart, so they're intelligent. But the axis that this lunar eclipse is on is actually the mind intelligence, which is Gemini, and then Sagittarius, which is really more the intuitive intelligence. And the emphasis of this full moon is on the intuitive intelligence. The two of them are squared by Jupiter, which is the ruler of Sagittarius, so that makes it even more powerful. And Jupiter gives us a clue because Jupiter is in Pisces. It's just moved into Pisces and it's now going retrograde. So it'll go retrograde back for a while and come back into Pisces, where it'll be for quite a while. And Jupiter is really the sign of expansion, of abundance, of growth, of higher truth, of learning, of growing. So it's a very fiery, airy full moon. And when there's fire and air around, they're both masculine elements. And we usually feel that. We can feel, especially at a full moon, we can feel the emotions bigger. Stuff that we haven't been dealing with can come up to the surface at full moon. Full moon's always a time of culmination, of basically, it's the top of the peak of the moon cycle, and it's the time where we let things go. So this is quite well timed because you've got a couple of days, because it's Tuesday, full moon. So you might be feeling the energies already. And it's really just to see if you can imagine that a spotlight's shining itself onto your stuff, onto your emotions, onto what you haven't come to terms with, maybe what you're grappling with. You might be a bit confused at this time about what's going on on the planet, what's going on in your life. You might be a little bit confused about direction, and this full moon could bring clarity to that. But in the process, it can actually bring things to the surface so that you need to actually see them. That's why many people at full moon kind of have emotional issues. People who are slightly mentally unstable might be more mentally unstable at full moon because the spotlight is shone on us. So this full moon really is about seeing, if you look at the axis, truth versus information. That's the way I see it. So we are at any one moment, especially in 2021, surrounded by a huge amount of information. It's coming at us every few minutes, everywhere you look. And it's really about discerning, but through intuitive awareness, what's true for you and what's not true for you. And that's the kind of, we're going to talk much more about the intelligence of life itself. But if you look at intelligence, there is a link to this full moon as well. So that's the full moon this coming Tuesday. So it's really to say, what is true for me now? Sagittarius is about beliefs. So we might have been brought up with a belief system, and we might have held on to that belief system. And this time that we're going through right now is very much the shattering of some of those belief systems. So if you've always had a belief that you've stuck to and said, no, I always believe that, this could be a time where you start to actually look at that and say, I'm not so sure that that belief is actually still mine. It might have been given to me by somebody else, but is it still true for me? And you're never going to be able to understand that with your mind. You're only going to be able to grasp that when you're actually in the present, in your intuitive knowing. Is this right or isn't it right? If it's not right, you don't have to make a decision, but just see what's true for you now. So the full moon could also shatter some illusions. It could bring some information out that hasn't surfaced before. So there could be some surprises in the next few days in terms of news and in terms of law, because Sagittarius is the sign of law. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. And it'll be a 2-week process. And just to know that eclipses they've got a very long cycle. So where a full moon has a cycle of a month, an eclipse can have a cycle up to 19 years in terms of the themes. So if you look back in your life 19 years ago, you might see themes that might be reappearing in a different way, but a sort of another cycle that you can look at and say, oh, yes, that was me then, this is me now. How have I changed? How have I grown? How have I expanded? What have I learned about myself? What have I learned about the planet? So it's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think the last year and this year we're going through a biggie anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an awful lot of changes and uncertainties in the world around us, and I'm sure most of you are feeling it in your personal lives. And one thing that'll guide us through, I believe, is not necessarily our intellectual mind. Our intellectual mind, the IQ is very good, but really the IQ really knows only about past and a projected future. So Albert Einstein said we have within us a sacred gift, and that sacred gift is our intuition. He said, as a society, we've honored the intellect, and which is our servant, he said, but it's time to start honoring the intuition. And so this full moon is very much about the intuition. And I believe that with the amount of changes that we are going through in the uncertainty, I think we need to connect more and more and more with this intuitive intelligence with us, and let that guide us. Yes, use your mind, but don't let your mind's anxieties and fears rule your life. You rather trust this inner intuition to guide you. I mean, if you look back in your life, you have always been guided through the most troublesome and difficult circumstances. You have navigated that in the past, and you will navigate that in the future.
And the other element of this full moon is Jupiter. So Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and Jupiter being in Pisces is about that inner knowing. So, and it's moved into Pisces it'll be here for a little while, go back and then come back in for a year, because it's got a 12-year cycle. And while it goes through Pisces is very much about being at one with, being connected with, unity, oneness. So Pisces is the sign that relates to the ocean. And so really that gives us a clue as to what we've actually got to look forward to in the next year, and obviously forever for all of us on this call. But that the antidote to all the concern and the worry and the anxiety and the backwards and forwards and this and that and right and wrong and yes and no is the center point, which is that oneness. Again, we always go back to that because that's where we have to go back to, because that's the place of clarity. So that gives us a clue as well. So spending more time in presence than we normally do, especially over the next week. So to take regular pauses, to spend time in nature, to just anchor yourself, ground yourself. So if you can imagine air and fire, air fans fire, and fire can be quite explosive. It can be very exciting. So we can get a lot of insights, a lot of intuitive guidance right now, but it can also be a bit blustery. So to just calm down with water and earth, which are the feminine elements, calm the fire. And then in calming the fire, you're calming the air, and air is thoughts. So you're actually letting things settle. So that's a good idea over the next few days, maybe next few weeks.
Yeah. And it's to allow any emotions that come up, just allow them. You don't have to understand them. You don't have to suppress them. Just allow them to be there and hold them as you would a little innocent child. So you just hold your emotions and allow them to come through. Allow them to come through you, because in the allowing of the emotion to come through you, it dissipates. It's when we try to control it that it actually starts to dam up, and those dam walls tend to break from time to time, washing away everyone in its wake. So it's rather allow the emotions as they arise to flow through you. And if it means washing the soul with your tears, well, allow that as well. Nothing wrong with crying, nothing wrong at all.
And the emotions could be big and you might not understand them. They might come just out of nowhere, and suddenly you're sitting and thinking, I'm feeling incredibly sad. It happened to me earlier. Okay, there's no judgment. You don't have to understand it with the mind. Just acknowledge it. Yes, I'm feeling this way. How can I hold a space for my own feelings and possibly for someone else's as well?
Yeah, holding the space is really important. Holding the space for yourself and for the world around you. That's so important, because that's called the power of presence. The power of presence is the power of that space. In the meditation, we spoke about that stillness. And it's in the stillness that we hear the intuition speaking to us, because the intuition has got a very quiet voice. It doesn't shout in your ear. If it's shouting in your ear, it's probably the roommate in your head talking to you. But the intuition is a very quiet knowingness. And in order to hear that quiet knowingness, we have to become still on the inside. So as Michelle suggested there, taking regular pauses during your day, just to, glance out the window, just notice nature. Nature is such an incredible portal into that stillness, into that presence. So, if you have a pot plant on your desk at work, just admire it, admire the form of the plant, the color of the form, and make it a regular, every 15 minutes to stop and look at that particular plant. But if you can, look out the window, and if you have got nature around you, it's even better to see nature outside, and just connect with that every 15 minutes. Just connect with that stillness that's in nature, and allow that stillness to activate and enhance the stillness within you.
Yeah, and if you look at the topic for tonight, the intelligence of life, you don't see that anywhere as clearly, for me anyway, as you do in nature. When you sit in nature and you really look at the sky and where the sky meets the earth, and you look at the trees and you look at the plants and you look at the absolute incredible order and just magnificence of nature, that automatically, because we are connected to nature, it brings us back to, it grounds us, it brings us back, it brings us home, because this is our home. And so there's an incredible intelligence in nature. And so when we connect with nature, we become more intelligent in terms of we are actually connected with the rhythm of nature, of Mother Earth, of the air, of the water, of the sky, of the sun. We're not separate from it. So when we connect with it, it brings us back.
Yeah. where the subject for tonight's satsang came from was
I dashed the tripod.
we were sitting in bed this morning having some tea and looking out the window here, and we can see the beautiful blue skies, the early morning sky of Hogsback over the Matola Mountains, and between us and the sky there are these beautiful trees, and the majority of trees now have lost their leaves. And in that moment, just looking at the beauty of nature and the obvious perfection in nature came into my awareness. The fact that it's winter now and it's quite cold outside, and yet nature in its infinite wisdom has allowed the leaves to drop off the trees, allowing more sunlight through to us. And in that process, the leaves fall onto the ground and they add a protection to the ground from the cold, and they also form the mulch and the nutriments for the new season when it rises, so that the tree or the nature will have the adequate nutrition for the spring when it arrives. But if you look at that perfection, the perfection that autumn comes around, dropping all the leaves by itself. Now, each tree doesn't individually have to think about this. It doesn't say, well, what time of the year is it? Is it time for me to drop my leaves now? And why should I drop them anyway? What's the purpose of that? Surely I should hold on to my leaves because maybe I need them. Maybe it's going to, give me some protection in winter.
And I look prettier.
Yeah. And no, nature doesn't work like that. Nature works in a synergistic rhythm. With greater cycles than just the individual tree or the individual bush. And it's when you start to see that perfection, that and that perfection doesn't end with the world outside of you. That perfection enters in you. Now, if you think about the intelligence of nature that gets trees to drop their leaves at a certain time in the year to allow natural processes to take place, think of it in terms of your own body. Nature in itself beats your heart. I doubt if anyone on this call tonight is totally responsible for beating their own heart. I doubt if most of people here, or majority, can actually change their heart rhythm by willfully changing their mind about it. The beating of your heart is very much connected to a greater intelligence. And that same intelligence is responsible for the leaves of the trees dropping off. You're watching from the Northern Hemisphere. Right now you've got the blossoming of the new leaves coming out as you enter the period of late spring at the moment. So you've got the beautiful flowers coming through of the new summer. And that intelligence, the same intelligence that takes care of nature, takes care of the beating of our hearts. And what about the breath, the breathing? Yes, we can breathe. We can force the breath, but most of the time we're not aware of it. Most of the time there's another intelligence that is breathing you, that's beating your heart. And what about digesting your food? Not very many of us know when to release the hydrochloric acid into our stomach so we can digest the food at the right time. But that's taken care of by this other intelligence. And if we cut ourselves, that greater intelligence knows how to send the blood platelets there, sort it all out and create the new growth of the skin, etc. We don't have to think about that. And that intelligence doesn't end with our epidermis. It actually radiates out and connects with the world around us. And that intelligence we can also use to guide us in our life, to get us into what's called the flow, the rhythm and flow of life. Trees live in the rhythmic cycle of life. And we can also live in that same rhythmic cycle of life. We can also be guided by that cosmic intelligence, and we will find ourselves in the right time at the right place. That intelligence is way more intelligent than the left hemisphere of our brain. It knows more about what is good for us and good for the collective than our rational mind. And that's what Albert Einstein was pointing to when he said that intelligence, that intuitive intelligence, is the real guiding intelligence of life.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our anxiety comes from, and a lot of our control issues come from the mistaken belief that we're in control and that we have to fix everything and we have to sort everything out. And I think one of the privileges that I have is looking at people's charts every day of my life, just about, and seeing the incredible perfection of life and the incredible organizing design that we have. there are no mistakes. So even if you just look at something very simple like the sun and the moon, at full moon, the light shines on the moon, and we see the moon in all her glory. Now, the sun is much bigger and much further away than the moon, but because of the perfection of the cycles and because of the orbits and because of the perfection of everything, we are able to actually see the moon's cycles. Now I mean, if you had to actually try and work that out, it would be, can you imagine? It's impossible. So if you look at just that, just the perfection of that, just the perfection of, as John was saying, the trees, the leaves falling off the trees, that same perfection is running the show. And we forget that. We sometimes get into that situation where we think that we are running the show and that what's going to happen to us. But why would we worry if we really trusted that there's a great organizing design, that there's something bigger running the show, that we're not actually in charge?
The great organizing design is obviously God.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, you know, we think sometimes that we're infinitely more responsible for the universe than the grand organizing design. And that is just not so at all. You know?
Really.
I mean, I'm sure some of you don't sleep at night worrying about how the hell you're going to get the sun to rise in the morning. And
is Saturn going to fall on our head?
Yeah, and hoping the moon doesn't bump into Pluto in the night. You know, it's ridiculous. And yet we take so much responsibility for our lives. And we just think, for example, of those of us who've got children. And so often we take on so much responsibility and so much worry about the lives of our children. But when we start to see the infinite intelligence and perfection of life organizes the lives of your children. If you can think of even conceiving your child, you know, 9 months later, this beautiful, wonderful child came out. And how much did you have to do with the construction of that child's body? You know, you had 5 minutes of fun, you know, 9 months before. But when the child came out, you know, you can't say, yeah, I made you. You know, well, you don't know how to make a kidney or a liver or eyeball or a fingernail or a, you know, neurological dendrite. That isn't within your capability. So that intelligence that actually did put together this beautiful, wonderful bundle of flesh, which was your child, it didn't stop when they were born. That same organizing, grand organizing design has carried on throughout their life, and the lives of your children fall under that intelligence. And I just think the same way we don't have to worry about the sun rising tomorrow morning, we don't have to worry about the lives of our children. Our lives of our children are perfectly aligned in a beautiful, sort of like an orchestration of perfection from the universe. They were born on the right day, and their day is also written when they leave the planet, the same as yours. So we definitely don't have to concern ourselves to the level that we do with the world around us. I believe that our real journey is to experience life in the depth of life and enjoy each and every glorious moment of what it is to be here as a human on earth at this time. And that, as we find that trust in life and the processes of life, so we can radiate that into the lives of our children. If we worry about our children, what are we teaching our children? That they must also worry. And when they have children, they must worry about their children. And so it goes on. And we're perpetuating the sins of our ancestors, going back 7 generations, on our children. So I believe that if we, you know, want to live in a more fulfilled, sustainable way, I think one of the ways is to align with the incredible creative intelligence called life, and to trust that flow of life, and to enjoy each and every moment as it comes, knowing that even the challenges that we experience are part of the perfection of life. I mean, if a tree was human and it gets to, for example, in the southern hemisphere, gets to autumn and it starts dropping its leaves, I mean, the tree would freak out. The tree would go for therapy and then go to the doctor. Why am I losing all my leaves? What is wrong? You know, what's going on? What have I done wrong?
A huge branch.
Breaks. And it doesn't. It actually is in alignment with the flow of life. When it comes time to drop the leaves, it drops the leaves. And when it's spring, it doesn't have to figure out how to grow new leaves. The new leaves are grown through it. So one of the maps of reality, Michelle spoke about beliefs. beliefs are neither true nor false. They are all in process of transformation. With enough time, every single belief we have will change and alter. So beliefs are maps of reality. And the only way to assess a map is not, is it right or wrong? It's, does it take me where I want to go? And if you do want to live a peaceful, joyful, abundant life, then look at your beliefs in terms of that. And so one of the beliefs that I think is very helpful to living a worry-free life is to know that life is in charge. That is not up to you. Your job is to enjoy life and to add your uniqueness, your unique ingredients, your unique gifts, and unique service into the world. And to enjoy the process of giving what it is you have to give to the world, but not to worry about that. To know that there is this grand organizing design behind you. And it's to know that you don't have a life. That life has you. That, in fact, your body doesn't give you life. You give your body life. You are the consciousness which allows life to live through you. And, we always start every satsang before we go live on air with that poem from, is it Hafez?
Hafez.
I am a hole in the flute that the Christ breath blows through. Listen to this music. So we become that emptiness and life dances through us. And that is a joyful belief and a meaningful way to live our lives.
Yeah, and when we're trying to be in control, and when we're controlling the ship with both hands very securely and very, very what's the word I want? We're gripping, we're grasping, we're really trying to control every little thing. We kind of almost, we can't ever really step out of the flow. That it's almost like we block the flow. So when we are able to actually just move with life, like a dance, life flows through us much easier than when we're saying, no, this can't be so. I'm going to resist this because this isn't what it should be. That almost blocks the flow. And that's when we feel that we're out of alignment. That's when we feel that we are misaligned, we kind of grumpy, we worried, we anxious, because we've just stepped off the frequency. It's almost like we've tuned ourselves out of that flow. So the more we can bring ourselves back into this particular moment and just say, I trust that I'm supported in this moment. That for me is a very powerful affirmation. I trust that I'm supported in this moment. Even though it doesn't feel like it, even though the world's gone mad, I trust that I'm supported in this moment and that it's unfolding the way it needs to unfold. And as John was saying, if we see it as a dance rather than a race to get to something else. So when we're in a dance, you often say it, but when we're in a dance, we're dancing. We're in the dance. We're enjoying the music. We're enjoying our partner. If you're in a dance with your partner, you're not trying to get to the other side of the room. You're just being in it. And when you're in it and you see life as a process that's unfolding, it shifts it because you're not trying to be somewhere else. And that's allowing the intelligence of life to actually move through you. And you're in relationship with life then. You're flowing with life. So the best art that's made, the best music that's made, the best poetry that's written, the best books that are written by people who are in the flow. They get their own intellect very often out of the way. So very often to get into flow, you've got to get yourself out of the way. You've got to get your ego out of the way. That mind that says you can't do this, you don't want to do that, your preference isn't this, this is not right, that's right. As soon as you get that out the way, you get into that hole in the flute.
Yeah.
That the Christ breath or the love flows through it.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to do anything. What I find interesting about that poem is that it's not I am the flute. I am the hole in the flute. So I'm not even the flute. I'm just the openness that allows that whatever it is to flow through me. And you can see that when somebody's talking or acting or singing, when they're in the flow, they are magnetic. You get drawn to them because they're just in the flow of life. Life's flowing through them.
And people often worry about, what their life purpose is, what do they need to do in life.
Yeah.
And if you can look at it that way, that I'm the hole in the flute, I'm the emptiness, and life is going to dance through me. And in order to be the best hole, you just got to be empty. That's all. Just empty and allow. And that allowingness is the opening to love in your life. And that I believe creates the most beautiful music in the world, is when you open to life. And when it comes to, for example, writing a book or painting a picture, as you said, it's that picture is going to be painted through you. Yes. That book is going to be written through you. The same way those children are going to be birthed through you. You don't create any of that. You don't create the book, you don't create the painting, and you don't create your children. You are the conduit through which that emerges into the world. So that poem, someone has to repeat the poem. It's, I am the hole in the flute that the Christ breath blows. Listen to this music. So your life becomes an expression of the Christ breath, which is love, which is life, flowing through you, living through you. And that's the true expression. And the same principle is acting through everyone you know. It's acting through those friends of yours who are in trouble at the moment. It's acting through those children that you worry about. It's life that's dancing through them. And our job is just to get out of the way and allow life to dance through us. And then our service becomes an expression of love instead of a need to do and a need to achieve and a need to fix. The universe doesn't need fixing. You don't need to go and pick up those leaves that have dropped on the floor and glue them back on the tree. That's insane. It's autumn, it's winter. That's the process that needs to happen. People's lives fall apart, and it's perfect because they need to let go of that so that they can move into something more magnificent. You have to let go of the shore in order to find a new harbor. You have got to let go. And that process, in the opening meditation, we spoke about the out-breath. The out-breath is the letting go. And one of the great tools is to make the out-breath more important than the in-breath, because the out-breath is the releasing. Sure. And I suggest that the world, we have been going through a lot of uncertainty and a lot of change. And I absolutely know that we're going to go through even more change and more uncertainty. And the way through that is to be open to the beautiful, wonderful, creative dance that life is giving us at this time, because the universe is perfect. You don't have to worry about it. The life is unfolding perfectly. Even the trauma, even all the challenges in the world, it's part of a greater cosmic unfoldment. We don't have to worry. But as we open ourselves, so we allow love to flow into this dimension and orchestrate it in an even more fulfilled way. Get out of the way and allow life to live us. And that's what nature does. It's generally what nature does. Looking at a tree, going back to the analogy of, this beautiful, we're in Hogsback, and it's the most beautiful place. It's just so abundantly rich in nature. And you look at these tall trees, and yet there's water that's drawn up from the ground. I mean, how many meters into the sky, so it can go and nourish that uppermost branch. Now, water doesn't travel through gravity. How does it get up the tree? There's no pump pushing the water up the tree, but there's some process that nature has worked out, some intelligence to get the water from the ground up. Sometimes, I mean, goodness me, those redwoods are how tall? They are really, really tall. And to get that water molecule all the way from its roots, all the way up, and that is the intelligence of life. The same intelligence that operates in you, that beats your heart, that allows your eyeballs to see, that allows your eardrums to hear. That same intelligence is orchestrating your whole life. So why worry? It's to hand over to that intelligence. That intelligence is not to be understood and not to be manipulated. I think it's to be aligned with. For far too long, the human species has tried to dominate nature, fight nature, control nature. And I say, if you want to pick a fight with someone smaller than you, not someone bigger than you. And nature is infinitely bigger than us. And if we try and manipulate and control life, there is a price that humanity will pay for that. And I think it's a very good time right now to start making friends with life and listening to life and hearing what life has to offer us, and allowing life to lead us into a more glorious future.
Yeah, just to trust. I think that's the big thing. That even when things are rough, even when there's a challenge, even when the life feels like it's falling apart, to trust that that too is actually supposed to be happening. Because there's the other thing is, you either see that life is a miracle or that life isn't a miracle, but it can't be both. So when things are going well, it's a miracle, and when things are going badly, it's not a miracle. It's always the same. So if you're going through a really rough time, you would see that in your chart, you would see that in your numerology, you'd see that in your fingerprint. I mean, if you look at the perfection of the way life actually moves through us, each of us has got an individual, unique iris in our eye that tells us myriad amount of information about our whole system. You can have your hair analyzed, and it'll tell you what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat. You can have your numerology done. You can have your fingerprints done and your handprints done. There's a unique, incredible design that runs this whole show. And if we just are able to surrender and trust that, life's a lot easier. Otherwise, we are fighting it. We're saying, this shouldn't be happening. Why is this happening to me? Why have I always got these challenges? Instead of, yes, you have your moment of humanness where you say, why is this happening to me? Then you bring yourself back and say, okay, is this happening to me for a reason? And can I just dance with this? Even if the dance is actually a difficult dance. Can I dance with this now, in this moment? Just in this moment. Not next week or tomorrow. Right now. Just now. Can I just take this step to this note that's showing up? That's what this time's calling for, I think.
Yeah, and if I just look at my own life, some of the biggest challenges have actually cleared the way for something brand new and beautiful to emerge in my own lives.
Yeah.
And if you look back at your lives, look at the times when you have had a lot of challenges, and yet some intelligence has come in and miraculously shifted you into, a new arena, new playground, new career, new relationship. And, we say, okay, but it happened then, but maybe it's not going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
And that's absolute nonsense. That same intelligence that orchestrated your birth, that orchestrated your fingernails and your eyeballs and your ears at the time of birth, that enabled you to see, hear, and walk, is still with you today. And it's always going to be with you. It can never leave you, because it is life. And you are life. It's a life that's animating your body. It's life that's looking through your eyes. You're not separate to life. You and life are one and the same.
Right.
You don't have a life. You are it. You can't lose it. It's impossible. And when you start to trust that inner, it's called, from many religions, it's called the I am. The I am and life are one and the same. There's no separation. The I am is life. And when you start to know that at a deep level and trust that and live aligned with that intelligence, your life becomes, as Michelle said, a beautiful dance. It's not a struggle. It's not a mission. It's not a race to get anywhere. It becomes a beautiful, wonderful, joyful dance. That's the way to live your life, irrespective of the challenges you find in yourself, because you know that those challenges are part of the dance. They're perfect. They're there by design, not by accident. And life becomes a lot lighter when you align with this intelligence, trusting this intelligence.
It's a lot less difficult.
Yeah, it's
for
far
sure.
more enjoyable.
So as John said, if a map works, then use it.
Yeah.
If you want peace and you want liberation, you want freedom, then find a map that works.
Yeah.
And that gives you that. Yeah. And if the map that you've got is that life is terrible and is never going to work out for you, and you have to struggle, then that's what you're going to be. That's what we're going to have. If you have the map that, no, everything's unfolding the way it should, even though it might seem chaotic, it is a lot easier to get through each day. So it's a good map.
I've lived my life both ways. I've lived my life with struggle, with worry, with concern, thinking that life is just a random event. And it wasn't a very good way to live my life. And now I live my life very, very differently. And I can just say, rather choose the map of alignment with life, trusting life, living life with the absolute trust and the knowingness that even this is perfect. Even this is by design. It's far easier, far more joyful. And isn't life about your experience of life? Isn't the quality of it and the success of life how you feel in the moment? And when you align with the intelligence of life, you do tend to have far better feelings than when you're in a struggle with life. Yeah.
Flowing with the river and not standing in the middle of it trying to fight it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So a couple of announcements. The one is that we have a online course called Journey to Freedom, and we have number 8 coming up on the 10th of June, which is a very auspicious day as well, because that's a solar eclipse.
So it's the lunar eclipse on Tuesday, and then the solar eclipse is on the 10th of June.
In 2 weeks' time.
And that's in Gemini, and it's going to be. It's a very unique and beautiful day to launch the course. So it's a Journey to Freedom, and that's a 13-week course. Join us for the first week, absolutely free. It's life vision. It's helping you find your life vision. So that's on the 10th of June, and you can go to journeysofawakening.com and you can sign up there for that. And then we have an ongoing monthly platform called Inner Space, connecting with this alignment to this intuitive stillness which guides us in life, inner space. What's the theme for June? True communication. That's the theme. That's a theme for June. You can join for 1 month or join for the year. If you join for the whole year, you get 2 months free. And then the third announcement is that we're in Hogsback at the moment, and that's my absolute heaven. I love Hogsback. And we have a retreat here on the 16th to the 20th of July. Yeah. And we're going to be opening that up for bookings next week. Yes. So that's all available at journeysofawakening.com. The retreat is not listed there yet. We've only finalized the dates now, so that'll be up next week. Yeah. So go to journeysofawakening.com and have a look at joining us for Journey to Freedom and the 13-week course. Just join us for the first week and see if you enjoy traveling with us. Yeah, we're having a lot of fun with those courses, and a lot of people are shifting.
Yeah.
So it's
amazing how powerful.
This is the time. Yeah. This is the time to shift consciousness. Yeah. And so really all that we're doing in terms of our work together is to assist with that.
Yeah. And just to know that this personal journey is not a selfish journey. As you shift and as you awaken, as you become that whole and allow life to dance more fully through you, so that benefits all of the people that you come in contact with. It benefits your family, benefits your children, it benefits your parents if your parents are around, and it benefits your work colleagues, etc. The more present the more presence you bring into your awareness, the more you become that whole and allow love and life to dance through you. Yeah. So it's not a selfish journey. No, I think it's a journey you owe to all of humanity to awaken at this time. Yeah. Absolutely. So thank you, and let's ask Michelle to guide us out this evening. Thank you for being with us.
Sure. Thank you, everybody. All right, let me just lean forward a bit because my voice goes a bit soft. Okay. Let's just take a beautiful deep breath in, and then just release that breath. On the out breath, just let it all go. Now let's breathe in for 4, for the count of 4. Hold for a second and then breathe out to the count of 6. Really release on the out breath. Let's do that again. Breathing in for the count of 4. All the way in, really deep breath. And then on the out breath, just let it all go and let the shoulders relax. Let the tension just fall away from your neck, from your shoulders. And let your body just soften into this moment. Just give up the resistance to anything in this moment. Allow your breath to become soft and gentle. Coming in and going out, a little bit like the waves on a beach. In and out. Very rhythmic. Very gentle. Allow your breath to smooth like a whisper. Just connecting with that beautiful breath, the breath of life that keeps you alive, that nourishes your body, feeds all your cells. It's always there, no matter what, very regular. Really connect and give gratitude for this breath, for this life. Feel the breath coming through your nostrils and then leaving out through your mouth or your nostrils. With each gentle out-breath, soften your body a little bit more, drop your shoulders, and release any tension that comes creeping in. Really relaxing your whole body. Relaxing the little muscles around your eyes, muscles around your mouth, your nose, unclenching your jaw, smoothing the forehead. Allow a beautiful wave of light to enter in through the top of your head and just make its way in a beautiful gentle spiral through your head, down through your neck, into your shoulders. Allow your shoulders to relax. Allow this beautiful wave of light to move through your torso, front and back, all the way down through the spine. Allow it to move through your arms and into your hands. As it enters into your hands, just spend a few moments connecting with the life force that you can feel in your hands. Put full focus on the life flowing into your hands in this moment. You may feel some warmth, you may feel some tingling. Just being aware, this is the life force that's flowing through you all the time. Allowing this life force now to travel down through your legs, into your knees, into your legs, into your lower legs and ankles and feet, and down into the earth beneath you. Feeling your connection with the sky and the earth. With the elements of air and fire, and water and earth. Connecting with yourself as the conduit between sky and earth. Standing in full presence in this moment, completely open to the flow of life, open to the intelligence of life, and knowing that at any moment in your day, taking a few conscious breaths, you can bring yourself right back to peace, to presence, to the connection with your life force. It's always here waiting. Just feel that. And setting an intention for the week ahead, to ground yourself, to bring yourself back to this place over and over, as many times as you need to. Pause, breathe, soften, bring yourself home. Now deep breath in, filling up your lungs and a releasing breath out. And another deep breath in and out. And open your eyes when you're ready.
It was beautiful. Really nice. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. We got some affirmation cards here, and Michelle's going to choose us a lovely affirmation for the week. Green, yes, green as heart.
Oh, that's nice. I now fall in love with the love inside me.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's lovely.
And life is love. I now fall in love with the life inside me, with the love inside me.
Green card, so it's a
Beautiful.
heart card.
Yeah, we'll post this onto, it's got a lovely heart on there as well. And so we'll post that. I think that's a lovely full moon affirmation. I now fall in love with the love inside me. I'll put that up on the Facebook page now. Have a beautiful week further, and
Thank you, everybody.
we look forward to meeting up with you next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Enjoy your week, everyone. Lots of love.
Lots of love. Yes. Nighty night.
Thank you.